All right. Next question from Jennifer. Good morning, Jennifer. Okay, so there's a lot of blaming going around regarding this recent explosion in cases and hospitalizations. Are the protests to be blamed, or is that data not in yet? What's the reason? Thanks. Yeah, okay. Whoa, yeah. All right. Things just got political. Although, yeah, there's actual data here. So you got to look at when did the most recent surge in cases start? And it started in, if I remember right, about toward the end of the first week, beginning of the second week of June. And so remember the amount of time that it takes for cases to actually start to work their way through. What we see is that when there's a policy change or when we do something, it takes about 2 weeks for that change to actually start to change the numbers in the real world. So the changes that have taken place, essentially the next 2 weeks worth of cases are already infected, and we'll see about after that. That's the point at which any policy change could actually, affect what's going to happen. Yeah. And so during that time, people are going to have the virus. At some point during that period, you would be able to actually detect the virus if you went over to this person who probably still feels fine and said, can I take a saliva test, or can I take a little sample, like a fecal sample or something like that. But yeah, going up to people and asking them for a fecal sample is, it's pretty weird. I gotta say, it's pretty weird. Anyway, though, if you're that person and you did that, then you would possibly be able to pick up the virus before the person actually knew that they were sick. But that's not happening. We are waiting for people to self-report for testing, and they're not self-reporting. Well, the inclination is going to be either to self-report too early, like that boom, on Friday you were infected, potentially exposed to somebody who was infected, and so you would want to go Monday and get the test. Thing is, there's no way a test is going to be positive on Monday. Minimum, I think, is probably about 4 days after, but it only becomes sort of likely about 7 days after exposure, we think. Yeah, that's a real squishy number because it's hard to say exactly when anybody's really exposed. And then it's another 7 days or so before the person really starts to feel sick. So it's somewhere in that sort of 10-day range, let's say, a person would say, boy, I feel sick. Now I should go for a test. And at that point, if they actually do the test, there's a reasonable chance that they could pick up the virus if the person does have the virus. Before that, it is real hit or miss. Yeah, and the earlier you go, the more miss and the less hit. Yeah, so, yeah. So why aren't we attributing all this stuff directly to the protests? Because you started hearing about the protests around the same time as you started hearing about the rise. That's the thing. Any effect from the protests would just now, like 2 weeks after that, be starting to come through and would be part of this. But the thing is, you already had a trajectory where things were rising really fast. And so, yeah, protests are part of that, but the curve had already started before that. And the curve looks like it's pointing back to right at the end of May. And of course, what's right at the end of May? Whatever the heck that holiday is. I think it's Memorial Day. And so you got to look at also the number of people involved. In talking with people in Dallas in the mayor's office, they were saying, I think it's something like 700-800 people that are downtown and protesting. You say, okay, well, that's 700-800 people who are at risk. There are church services that are larger than that are happening all across the state. That's one type of gathering, just a different type of gathering, and it's maybe singing rather than, shouting, but yeah. And at the same time, we've also got, think how many people are going out for dinner in restaurants. We know that respiratory droplets will build up inside of a room and sort of hang in the air for 10-20 minute periods. And just the number of people that are doing other risky things kind of dwarfs the number of people that are probably involved in protests. So while they are visible, I don't see people going out with cameras and getting in the face of, whoever's enjoying a nice burrito at Taco Bell. But yeah, this is probably where most of them are coming. Yeah, all these activities carry some risk. And I guess the thing to do is to try and get this through to everybody that you can't try to balance coronavirus. I think a lot of people are trying to do that in their personal life, or people that have the ability to might be trying to do that in policy. Say, well, yeah, we know we should do this for corona, but we also need to do this, and so let's try and find the balance. And the problem there is that coronavirus doesn't balance because coronavirus keeps growing. Every time you try to balance it, coronavirus gets more and more cases. And so that side of the scale, boom, gets heavier. And then all of a sudden, the thing you tried to balance isn't balanced anymore. And yeah, you got to compartmentalize. You got to deal with coronavirus fully, I think, rather than yeah, whatever, coronavirus and yeah, pick your thing. So yeah, that's probably why there may be there are probably other social reasons why you're not seeing that specifically named, but yeah, just in terms of the general epidemiology parameters, the general number of people engaging in risky activities, the protests themselves are probably fairly small component of this. They're just a visible component of this, and the component that people are very interested in and are talking about. And so that's why the focus there, but I think the focus is disproportionate to the actual number of cases. So that's my take on it anyway. Yeah, spicy hot and served up for you. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Thanks very much. This is Ask Dr. Ben.